Hello community, I'm Lito. This is my first tutorial for Blender for you. Shortly about me, I come from the painting and from analog art practice, and 1.5 years ago I decided to dig into Blender 3D because it's open source and because it's a really cool program, and it's a hard learning curve when you start 3D. My experience is that Blender is much easier to get started. So I really recommend Blender 3D, especially also for people like me coming from a different field instead of 3D art production, modeling, etc. And the interface is quite user-friendly. There is a lot, but I will walk you through, and I think it's the best to start simple at the beginning so that you have a specific idea, concept of what you want to create, and from there on you start. And this is what we're gonna do today. But before we start doing something specific, I just explain you shortly the interface. Usually, when you generate a new one, don't save it, you will have a cube, a camera, and light inside. I will shortly do my starting again, and I will put it on the left, and so you see what I'm doing. Yeah, Blender is quite rich. So this, for instance, what I have here is a shortcut, is a plugin, and all these are plugins. So it's a really big community in Blender as well, where they produce really awesome tool sets for Blender called add-ons. And yeah, so let's get started. First thing what we should learn is how to spawn around and how to spawn and how to rotate around the object, around the pivot point of the object. And to do this, you actually just have to press the middle mouse button, and then you can just, move the mouse and you will rotate around the object. Then there's middle mouse and shift that you can spawn, and there's the middle mouse wheel where you can actually zoom in and rotate. If you don't have a mouse like me, I use my trackpad and my keyboard. We will go to Edit and Preferences, and there's this input field here, and you can check emulate 3-button mouse. Then you use, instead of the middle mouse wheel, the Alt key, it says here, with Alt and left mouse. So yeah, you have to press two inputs instead of one. But for me it's nice and handy because my hands are not so far away, and I actually don't like to use the mouse. So for those of you who like that too, just check this one. And then there is also some issue if you don't have a big keyboard and you're missing the numpad. You can emulate the numpad, and then the numbers on your keyboard actually are the numbers, like the numpad numbers, which is also quite handy because there's a lot of shortcodes based on the numpad, so I would recommend doing that as well. If you're already in that window, in the preference window, I would recommend you to install the first add-on for you. So Blender has a lot of add-ons already inbuilt. You just have to search them here. If you want to install an add-on from a third party or from some other, from GitHub for instance, you have to press install and then install the zip or the Python file into Blender. But what we search now in build Blender is the image, the import image as plane. So I have already installed that, and with this we will start our first project here. Exactly. And what I also would say, I mean, I think it looks different in 2.8, but there's a button or say save preferences, so you should do that, because then next time it will be also installed, because if you don't do that it won't be installed in Blender and you have to do that again. Okay, so before we do that thingy with the image to plane input, I just want to do a little bit something with the cube, because it's so simple and nice and it's usually there, and the first thing what Blender users do is to delete it. So I want to use it to explain you the first steps to move and scale and rotate around the object in Blender. And the thing is, there are 3 shortcodes to remember. G is for moving around. GZ, for instance, is to move around the Z-axis. GX is around to move around along the X-axis, and GY is that. So it's quite handy to know that. So when I go to my top view, I press X engrave, and then you can see that, so the numbers in the front. So I go GZ and I put it here, so that this is how I move it, or I put it a little bit up here, and then I press S for scale. And this is a little bit handy. If you scale and you're too near the center, you have not so much control. So be aware that if you put your mouse here, press S to scale, your range of scale is bigger and you have more control over that. So you see that this little dotted line here suggests you how you can scale around. So this is also something to learn at the beginning, because it can be really confusing if you hear and it does this kind of weirdness. So don't forget that. Yeah. Yeah, and then I will have to rotate. I also go back to my front view. Rotate, and you can rotate the object, or you can rotate it around the Z-axis. So it will rotate around the X-axis. I'm a little bit legasthenic here. RY. So you can rotate around the Y-axis. So this is something which is really helpful to get started. We are now in the object mode. And the object mode gives us the suggestion that we have some objects here what we can select and that we can move around, the thing I just showed you. Then we have our camera here. You can also go to the toggle and then see the camera view. This is nice for rendering out of image or a video. But in our sense, we just want to build something out of this boring cube. And then we have the edit mode, and what we can do here, this is the next step. So in edit mode we have also a selection, this orange selection, but we can now select the topology of the mesh. So here you see we have vertices, we have edges, so these are the edges, and we have faces. And a mesh is actually constructed by these vertices, which are positioned in a specific position in space. So this is, oh, I can see it here. Okay. So this is actually positioned on the x-axis and on the y-axis and on a specific height, so on the z-axis, it has its position. And this has its position, and with these three, so these three are the minimum to draw a face. And this is quite important to understand. Let's say I press Command R and do some edge loops here. Oh, that was too much. Yeah, we'll get to that. And suggest that we kill now one face. So we go to our face select and we kill it and we delete our face. And now we have a hole in it. And I show you that because this is the minimum approach for Blender Engine to draw a face. It's 3 vertices. And when we press F, then you see it can draw a triangle. And without this free combination, you can't draw a face. So you actually just have a, let's extrude this here. So you actually have just a line and an edge. So this is important to understand. So I kill that again. That we have this kind of understanding how a mesh is actually built. And you can select all of this type of topology. So you can select the vertices, the edge, and the faces. And now I will go back because I don't like the hole in it. So I will go to absolute command Z. Sorry. So there we go. And now we want to try to make new faces, extrude and intersect. I will show you. Let's do first intersection. So it's just press I. Then we have also our, like in scale, like our parameter, our range from our mouse to the center of the face. And now we can actually move and make it smaller. Now we have face. Then we can press, for instance, now we have to select the face, press just E. To extrude the face with Alt E, you can have a few different parameters. I will show that with this. So selecting, Shift select, the next one you can select more than one face. If you want to select a loop like this, you select the face and then double click with Shift on the edge, and then it will select all the faces connected with this face in a loop. For instance, also this one can select it like this, and then we'll try to go through all of it. That can be sometimes too much. So what you can also do is select one face, command and select the face you want to go to. So it's like Snake, you know, the game Snake. You can do this, you know. Also quite handy to know. Yeah, and I will select this one now. And now I want to extrude the faces to their own direction. So this should go this way and that way. So you press Alt E and then you say face along normals. Along normals means that it is this face direction. So when we go here, there we have also gizmos. Maybe that helps as well. Let's put this. So this face has actually this specific direction. If you would rotate it now on the Z-axis like so and put it a little bit up like so, and we would say Command E. So now it's, you know, different direction. Yeah? And when we press Alt E, extrude the face along normal, it will go its direction. This is another tool I will show you. But with the snap tool, you actually can have a handy help because you can go to increments. So it goes along the grid, about the grid. Just for your info, this is 1 meter. So yeah, let's snap to here, or let's make an extrude because I want to have just the face, etc. And now I want to make an, I will put that a little bit out so that you can see it better. And then we make a edge loop again here. So you see, edge loop is quite funny because sometimes you have to find the direction you want to. So if you go here, it goes like this, but I want to have the horizontal. Then I pull up my scroll wheel. Then I'm happy with my count of 4 edge loops. Then I press the left mouse. Now I kind of fixed it on the surface, and then I can move around. If I want to make it proportionally distance with each other, then I press the right mouse button and then it's fixed and then it's there. So yeah, let's make one more edge loop just like so, and I will put it in the center with the right mouse button. Yeah. Yeah, this tool. We stay with this menu. This tool is also pretty cool, especially when it comes to. So before I show you this, I will make quick a subdivision modifier. Haha. And I put here 2, and I will make it like so. This is the first modifier I'll show you. We leave it with this because there is a lot to learn here. This is all modifiers, but I wanted to show you this tool, so we stick with this one, and later on we will go to our modifiers. So instance, I just want to move one vertices and want to have influence to the others around it. Because usually when you press this, yeah, it's moving, but it's not doing anything with the parts over there. If you use proportional editing and you move now, you see you have an area of interest, or how, I don't know, I call it now this. I hope it's the right naming for this. And with the wheel actually going up or down, you can specify the area what you want to be influenced by. And this is really cool tool, you know, because you can go really crazy with that, and yeah, and then you have this kind of interesting approach. And usually when I build characters, or I don't know, trees or whatever, this is really helpful, this tool here. Let's see how our edge looks now. I actually like this soft version, but what I don't like is this kind of edgy. This is a quite simple trick. You just press the right mouse and then you go shader smooth, and it's actually low topology, but it's smooth. And with this is also a trick to make low poly meshes, but they look really high quality because they smooth. And yeah, so that's it for now. The next step what we will look into is materials. So hold on it. We almost done. So when we go into materials, it can happen that you don't have any material at all. Press this plus icon and then it gives you a kind of empty area where you can add here a material, bring it to a pink color. But what if I want to have this tailish thingy? Oh. Well, I want to select all the faces now, so I press also this one here, just a little side note. So I can see behind the faces, so I can select all the faces, let's say up here. And now they all selected. Okay, so deselect that. And I will add a new material area where I press a new material, and I will assign these faces, because I selected them in edit mode. I will assign them to the test matte, let's say blue, whatever. So assign it, and I will give them the color blue. And yeah, we have this mesh has now 2 materials. I can switch them easily like so. So I go to my first position and now it's the other way around. So you can play with that. Then I want to change it to say it greenish or bluish. I like the blue. Let's stick with the blue. But this pink is maybe not so nice. I will make it a little bit darker like so. Yeah, that's a quite handy way. And you can also add a third material. So plus, and you assign it. Now it's white, and you have to add a material, use the node, and we will do it. Let's do it a little bit lighter blue. So yeah, this is with the materials. There's another viewport for that. So now it looks a little bit complicated, but we go now to the shader menu. What I have to say about this menu over there, Blender constructed you a tab menu where you have all kind of areas of all specific areas in Blender to use. So they have animation, shading, texture paint, sculpting, modeling. So all this you can construct actually by yourself by just clicking on that little icon in the corner, left corner, upper left corner. And there you have all these kind of interfaces, but Blender actually constructed these for you. And there's one which is the shading tab. There you get more into detail in the node-based system of the materials. It looks confusing, it looks a little bit complicated, but don't worry. And now we're in the blue material. This here is actually the same as here. And if you change something here, it will automatically change here because it's the same thing. This is just a quick overview. If you, for instance, like I did before, quickly want to assign some material on a surface, on a face. So this is quite handy. If you want to get more into detail, what we do the next session, this is the node-based system. I just wanted to show you that. Okay, chicken or what that is. I just want to adjust again the colors because I'm so into it now. Sorry, so that I like these colors. Yeah. Let's leave this guy. And what I want to do to show you first, before we go into more detail with our next step, is the outliner. And the outliner is actually the same thing like in Photoshop, the layers overview. And we don't have groups, we have collections. We don't have 2D layers, we have a lot of assets like light, the cube, which is not a cube anymore, and the camera. And this is the collection. And I will name this collection like the first step. Bird, it's a bird, it's a bird. And this is the collection. I don't want to get it rendered or anything. I just want to leave it there, silent and invisible. So we do a new one, and this is gonna be 2D to 3D image. Yeah. I just call it 2D to 3D, that's easier. So this is my new collection. Do next is to import our image as a plane, and don't forget you have to have the add-on checked so that you can do that. We go back up to our layout view. So for modeling and stuff, I like the layout view. First import it, and there on the bottom you have image as plane, so we click this one. That's our image. What we can do here, just leave it as it is, import, and now we have our image. We don't see anything because we're not in the render view. So I think I mentioned that already, that you have this render versions, the grid, the simple flat surface view, then this is done already with texture, and this is done with light light now. So I will deselect scene world view, so that it gives Blender gives you a kind of suggestion so that you can have a light and see something, quickly get a lighting setting, and you can also decrease the blur so you see how it looks in real space. That's Blender, you know, it's nice. But I will blur it again, and I will put the opacity like so. Much better. So now we have this face, and it's not in the direction I want it to be because this is my front view. So when I press N, I go to my items. There it is actually rotated, and I don't want that. Now it looks at me. And I want it exactly, so we put that here. We learned that already. Put it here, and it's snapping to the center. I switched it off. It's a simple mesh, so I want to make it more subdivided. I could do that with Command R and do my wheeling thingy and do this, but I'm lazy, so I go to my modifiers and I put again my subdivision surface modifier. Now it gets rounded. I don't want that, so I use my simple trick simple. It will actually stay the form as it is, but it will get more topology, so more edges and vertices. And when I press now in edit mode, it's not there. So I want the modifier to be applied to this object. And I press this little arrow. Oh, I have to go out of my edit mode so then I can access this modifier. This is also sometimes confusing, but you will get used to that. So apply my modifier, and when I press now this edit mode, so tab, it is actually more faces. Why I want to do that? Because actually I want to cut out something and maybe extrude something like the picture as it is. And I will maybe do that one more time, so I will show you another trick to make quickly subdivisions. You press A, right click and subdivide, and you have now also a subdivision. Maybe you see that better here. So now I'm more subdivided. We will go to our edit mode again. I will take my knife tool. I usually have also a drag pad or something where I can draw, but I will do it now like this, and I will go and go around it and try to get the form of my weird face here. Yeah, what is this actually picture? It is from an AI. I tried to quick way to get started and have some fun. That's why I show you this way of doing that. Okay, and then we actually done. Yeah, so now we have that here. Let's go to this mode because then we can see it better. Nope, not this one. You have to go back to your selection. And yeah, that looks cool. Let's select them quickly. Dun, ba, dun. And also this one here. Looks kind of interesting. So now we have all the outside selected. Not this one, this one, this one. And now I go with my snake approach again. That goes faster. There you go. Snake, snake, snake. Snake, snake, snake. Okay. And what we can do now, and I like that a lot, is to make our vertex group, and I will call that face. Because now, let's say I don't have that selected and I have to do that again, but I did my vertex group, because the vertex group is actually all these kind of vertices holding the faces, and when I select that, oh, now I didn't assign. Oh, don't forget that. Go back and assign it to your vertex group. And now I can show you, you can select it. Ah, that's so nice. So really helpful. And let's see, I want this now to be extruded. Extrude. Now I can pull that out. And yeah, and I feel like that looks funny. Show back face. We don't need to show back face. This was on, that's why it looked so odd. And I think it has some, it's on alpha band. Okay, so now we have this face, and we learned also this one today. So I want to make it a little bit more standing out in a kind of wobbly way, so it has more rounded way. So I will do this proportional editing. Then I will press G and Y, and oh, it's too big. So I press G, and I have to minimize my area of interest. So, and then I press Y, and now I can pull that out, and it looks more like a face. Then I feel like this on the side, because we switch to this, it has not so much. Maybe I will do an edge loop here. With Command R, I will increase like 2, and I will pull them like so. Okay, let's say I want to make the edge loop now with this again. So let's do this. And it's not a high-tech thingy, but it's a funny approach to do something really quickly. This one here. And let's extrude this. Simple approach to do a kind of static object. But when it comes to animation or so, and it has to move like a face, then it's gonna be really hard. Because this, what I do here, you shouldn't do. That you have a vertex without connecting to another vertices. So we do now here a bevel. Let's minimize the bevel. Let's do it a little bit like 1. There you go. So yeah, this is how it looks. It's funny. I think with this I can really give you a nice approach, and for you the exercise for next time would be finding a 2D image of yours. A drawing can be also an image of, and then you try to use this knife tool and this loop cut tool and the bevel, and try to extrude and intersect. For instance, you can also intersect here. This is the exercise for next time. So have fun, get crazy, fail and repeat. That's normal. That's Blender for the first time. And so yeah, have fun.